Backbone is a post-noir indie game that was released to mixed reviews in the summer of 2021 by the budding development team Eggnutt. It's not my favorite game, and I wouldn't even consider it a must-have. So why can't I get this game out of my head? Howdy, and welcome to my first ever video. By concept, script, recording, editing, I made this while still in college, which I'm sure won't be the case by the time I post this. My deadline is by the end of the year, but we'll see about that. This is my review of Backbone, a game about a struggling raccoon detective named Howard who gets wrapped up in a massive case that could change the world as he knows it. That's all I'm going to talk about for now. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. This should be informational, but not substitutional. However, this isn't going to be a full-blown recommendation of the game, and that becomes very apparent when I talk about the... Backbone fits itself into a weird spot when it comes to my video game opinions. You see, I have four main pillars of quality when it comes to video games. The pillars themselves should be pretty standard for most people, but the placement of their importance is a bit different. In order from most important to least important, they are gameplay, graphics and style, music and sound, and then story and writing. Most of my all-time favorite video games reach good levels of all four of these pillars, and even if some games don't, I can still consider them to be incredible regardless of a predictable story or forgettable music. Backbone's biggest flaw is, unfortunately, its gameplay, which is a big problem because, well, that's the highest pillar right there. The studio defines it as a modern-day version of the point-and-click genre, with CRPG-like dialogue, but I just feel like it misses the mark on both fronts. More on the dialogue later. Now, I'm actually a big fan of point-and-click games. Broken Age is a game that exists in my head despite me not seeing anything about it for like 8 years. But the genre is a lot less interesting when you're mostly limited to a two-dimensional left and right movement system. Instead of scanning a screen to find things to click on like in most point-and-click games, in this game you run left, interact with whatever pops up, and then do the same to the right. Listen, I can get over a game with a lot of running. That was like 80% of Breath of the Wild. And, hey man, it's a game. It's a good game. Now, the game has a bit more gameplay than that, but it's limited. There are a few stealth sections and a couple of parkour sections. Oh, fuck yeah, verticality! And it's done. There are a few puzzles too, and I actually don't mind them, even if they were a bit simple. The gameplay overall felt like I was playing a trailer for the game. I felt like everything interesting only showed up once, and I really felt like they needed to be expanded upon further. They really should have picked a gameplay mechanic to hone in on, whether it be stealth, item puzzles, environment puzzles, or I don't know, being a fucking detective. This was part of the reason why I wanted to try the game. I wanted to see what I was able to find out using detective skills, talking to people, solving riddles and puzzles, and using my own reasoning to crack the case, but that didn't really come up in the game. If you go out of your way to talk to people who aren't part of the quest, they provide nothing to the investigation, or really the gameplay as a whole. Not to say I don't like the character, we'll get to that later, but I think I need to start talking about the dialogue now. I'm kind of riding that line here, so I guess it's time for me to switch over to the... So, this is kind of the most important thing this game could focus on. I mean, a detective point-and-click game, that's gotta have an interesting story, right? So did it? It wasn't bad. A few descriptive words to encompass my general feelings for it would be interesting, chaotic, messy, and quick. The world is super cool. I mean, a dystopian Vancouver with gritty anthropomorphic animals? That's pretty sick. I want to know more about what happened in the past. What led the world to function like this? Where are there animal people? What is that wall? But a lot of them aren't really answered. And I'm not saying everything should be. I mean, there are parts where you might think you're going to learn about something, but then it just gets cut off. I think it's to push this sense of mystery on you, but it just feels a bit annoying. It's hard to care about the mystery of a world when I know nothing about it. This game is also really chaotic and messy with certain story beats. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's really only one through line that connects each chapter. Like, a whole chapter is spent looking for information on a few characters, and then they don't really come up after that, besides a couple of throwaway lines that don't really add much to the main case or the characters, besides one in the last scene. This type of writing wouldn't be the worst if it didn't take up 1/5 of the entire game. There are 5 chapters, with the last one being a quicker epilogue. It's a 5-hour game, so if you spend 1 hour learning about a character that doesn't matter all that much in the long run, it kinda messes with the pacing of it. Quick editor's note. After replaying the game to get some more footage, I realized I don't 100% agree with this. Your direct ties to this part of the game do kind of pop up out of nowhere, but once you replay the game, you kind of understand that the pipeline you're going down, and it makes a little bit more sense. It's not as bad, and it's not as major. It's kind of nitpicky, but it does still provide a very big example of one of my biggest problems with the story, and that's of course the pacing. That's a massive problem. By the middle of chapter 4, I felt like everything was still being set up, with a new conflict and a large cast of promising characters being added, but the speed of the game increased tenfold as the 5th title card popped up with the word prologue, making me do a double take. I want to play more. Speaking of characters, I think they're actually pretty good. The characters do feel like individual people in this messed up world. There's a good variety here, and I appreciate them using animal characters in a more interesting way than just design. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but it does make it a much better world as a whole when that choice has a purpose. The character species reflect their characters. The raccoon is sneaky and witty, the fox is smart and charming, the polar bear is intimidating and powerful, and so on. Plus, they use species to show issues of societal class and racist themes, like when you're not let into a club due to being a rodent. Rodent? They're not rodents. Raccoons aren't rodents. Anyway. All in all, the phrase I would use to describe the story and writing is... Wait, I didn't... God damn it, I didn't talk about the... It's fine. It can be a little exposition dumpy sometimes, but I've watched Godzilla Singular Point. That doesn't faze me. I mean, comparing the two makes Backbone look like the definition of subtle. I think the main character's dialogue is the most disappointing part. They really just made 3 different versions of the same character to play. The empath, the street smart, and the asshole. I would have liked to see this improved upon a bit. Maybe adding a system where your options become more and more like the personality you set Howard up with. Like if you choose more aggressive choices from the start, your choices turn from nice, smart, and angry to passive-aggressive, angry, and violent later on. I don't know how well it would work or how hard that would be to make, but just some kind of improvement there would be a little bit more interesting. Anyway, as I was saying, if I could sum up the story and writing of this game into one phrase, it'd be missed potential. I don't really have a good segue into the next part. We were talking about characters and they have designs, so graphics, design. We're talking about the game's... Alright, sorry for top-loading this with negatives, but we're getting into the good shit. This game is so fucking gorgeous. It's got this beautiful 2.5D pixel art style. Ooh, it just looks so good. You could take a screenshot anywhere in this game and it would be so breathtaking and gorgeous. Chef's kiss. Oh god, where do I start? The backgrounds. My god, they are so full of detail. Everything looks so cool. All the buildings lend themselves super well to the setting. And that's both talking about individual areas and the place as a whole. Everything just feels so lived in, but not in a cluttered way. It all feels so purposeful, and it really tells you what you need to know about a location. Take Howard's apartment, for example. It's dull and dim, there's a shower tub in the main living space, and he has a separate room for his office, despite the size of his place. This description gives you a really good idea of his character, being a poor but dedicated detective who's run into a really low point in life. All the stores and homes, like, who lives here? And what kind of odd snacks can I buy at the Quico Mart? Oh my god, the setting is so cool. The rundown urban areas, the vibrant and alluring nightlife, the overgrowth found all over the city. My god, and the characters look good too. Pixel art characters are usually done well, but god, every Minecraft Marketplace skin has put a bad taste in my mouth. Kidding. Kinda. But I do think that characters are super important in the way they're designed. They can't blend into the world too much, or else they'll look like set pieces, but they can't be too weird, or then you'd risk them coming off as looking out of place. In Backbone, they pass. They're simple, but they pop out as characters instead of statues. They have little idle animations too, which add to one of my favorite parts of the game. This world feels so goddamn lived in. The choice of using anthropomorphic animals in a world can range from selling a story to, yeah, sure, fine, talking dog man. Go for it. Go off, queen. Go off. Go off, bestie. What the fuck is wrong? Dude, holy shit. It just works well in this game. They aren't super important, but it does play into the story a little bit. Oh god, I'm talking about the story again. The character designs are really charming. I just want to sit down in a park and have a chat with Howard. Or hop into Anatoly's cab and just head out and experience the world. Oh god, I haven't even gotten to the best part. The lighting in this game. The lighting in this game. Seeing the neon glow against the dirty street, the sunlight peeking into this shop, the bright, colorful lights beckoning you into this club, the way Howard's shadow is cast here, Oh my god. Look at it. It's so good. It's so good. I don't know how they made this game look so good. What the fuck? I'm sick. I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is top 3 prettiest games I've ever played. My god. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna fucking lose it over these visuals, dude. We're gonna move on to the. Now, if I told you that I saved the best for last, I would be lying to you. It was the visuals. But hey, the soundtrack in this game is really fucking good. It's dystopian doom jazz, which just sounds so fucking cool. I love these heavy synths mixed with the sax, the piano, the drums. I'm not saying anything. Oh wow, the songs have multiple instruments. Great fucking commentary. These bassy synths though, they're so good. And the songs that have vocals on them they just fit into my regular playlists, and I can appreciate a game for that. Like The Warmth of Parents' Hands, please give that a listen. If you walk to work or class or something, throw that on. It's just nice. If you've liked any of the music you've heard in this video, actually, you should check the soundtrack out. And the music really improves the storytelling somehow. Having something really heavy happen, and then the music kicks back in, making you realize it had disappeared so smoothly. There's a moment at the end of Chapter 3 that puts both the visual and audible prowess to work, culminating in one of my favorite scenes of all time. The sound design itself is also pretty good. That's the one thing I don't have much insight in, so I mostly just stick to talking about music, but, you know, it's solid, it's good stuff. Anyway, this section is short, but I do still have a little bit more to talk about, so let's discuss. This game came out as a demo, containing the first chapter, and, well, that seemed to go pretty well. A promising taste of what would eventually become a bit of a letdown. It just didn't click. Now, to be fair, most of the promotional material did seem to talk about the visuals, but I can still understand people's disappointment when the full game is... It's just the demo, but like 4 times longer. There was nothing new there. Now, when it comes to what's next for Eggnut, I do actually have some higher hopes. They're currently working on a prequel game to Backbone, and it looks, like, really in-depth. Tales: The Backbone Prelude will supposedly have 4 playable characters, a focus on replayability, heavy branching storytelling, various dialogue paths, with some being unlockable, and much more interactability with the world. I have some high hopes, but I'm gonna try to keep them lowered for now. I did play the demo, so take it away, future me. Yeah, it's about equal with the original. From a gameplay perspective, it's better than the original, but I feel like it's losing a bit of its charm. There are paths you can go down now, and you choose traits for your versions of your characters. They show a screen after every scene with the route that you're taking, but it doesn't really branch, like, at all. Everything is always available, which means no choice will be special to one specific type of playthrough. The gameplay worried me at first, having me talk to a guy, go over here, grab some things, and then talk to him again. But the interactability did pick up immensely with Renee's section. Lights. I'm not as interested in the characters this time though, and the graphics and music both seem to be lacking a bit, at least in comparison to the original. But this is a demo, and I'm not gonna hold that against them, especially when the trailer song was an absolute fucking banger. Cautiously intrigued by this one. No transition this time, it's gotten old. So, what are my final thoughts on the game as a whole? Now, the game itself, like I and the reviews on Steam say, it's mixed. It's not bad. Its bland gameplay, mediocre dialogue, and poor pacing keeps it from hitting too high on my scoring system, but God, the visuals are gorgeous. Oh, damn near perfect. And its soundtrack is really fucking good. Both of those being so good, just keep it out of mediocrity. My final score for Backbone is a 6+. Which, you know, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good game. It's pretty good. I'm still sick. To the developers of this game, I'm sorry. I genuinely admire the work that you put into this game, and it's an inspiration to me and my creativity. I had to be honest, though, and give my full genuine criticism. I only hope the best for all of you. Oh, and for the whole not getting this game out of my head, it's out. Mostly. I still think of it from time to time, but you know, when I used to think about it, it was the story and how, like, the ending mostly that kind of really messed me up, and how I wanted to keep playing to figure out and to interact with these characters more and more. But now when I think back on it, I just see the visuals, I see the pretty shots, and the music too. I have that in my playlist. So the intro was a little bit of a lie, just a little bit. I'm sorry. All right, I guess that's it. I'll say the generic YouTube stuff. Like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments if you're Team Howard or Team Wrong. There's only one choice. Also, let me know what you think of the game if you've played it. Alright, I guess I'll see you next time. Unless for some reason this is my last video, in which case, adios.